Welcome to Digital Asset News. Take the top stories in cryptocurrency and digital assets and break them down to bite-sized pieces. Today, some review as to what is happening with the price of Bitcoin in the market overall. So just real quick, we're going to go over the Bitcoin historical price and events for the last two halvings, one from November 28, 2012, and the other one from July 9, 2016. Also, the coronavirus effect. Investors are selling Bitcoin to increase cash positions, confirms Analysts, and how I believe that this article gives us a really peek into what it means to be a store of value. Also, MoneyGram has a loss in Q4, but it does narrow, and it's an interesting article. And finally, we'll go over the scam of the day, which we'll go over at the very end of this video, but let's get into today's stories. So first up, I don't really look at the markets too much, but lately it's been pretty glaringly obvious that there's been a huge dip. So the question always is what is it? Why is it going down? What's the reason for it? Was it a whale? Is it the coronavirus? Is it this or that? Blah, blah. Here's the thing, no one really knows. That's just how it goes. What we can do though, is we can look at the history and see kind of like what happened beforehand, and also look what's going on currently to kind of see what could happen potentially tomorrow. So if we're looking at the historical price and events, the first halving was on November 28th, 2012. So that puts us around right here. So around $12, $12, we'll just say. I like round numbers, right? 12 bucks. So remember, we are about 70 days away or so 2.5 months, something like that, somewhere around there. So if we look back 3 months or so, we're going to take a look at how Bitcoin did prior to the halving, and it was a pretty good run, right? $8, somewhere around there, and it was doing pretty well. And then it tipped off, or it topped off at $13 before it slammed down to $9. And if we think about it, we're like, well, $9 at $13, what's the deal? Well, we look at percentages, that's a good, what, 20%, 25%, somewhere around there. So if we do that, or 30%, I'm sure someone in the comment section will correct my math because I suck at it, but it's a huge dip, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. But once we get past that halving, and November 28th or so, we see a nice little parabolic runs up. And we're going to see dips and, peaks and valleys, but that's just one thing to look at as far as like what the heck is going on. Second, let's take a look at the second halving. So if we look at this, happened on July 9th, so right around here, and we had a price of $6.48. So if we go back, so that's in July. Let's go back a little bit more, see what happened. So July 9th or so, we can see there was a nice little, so in June 17th, there was a nice rise here. Look, went from 451, 450 all the way up, and it looked pretty fantastic. At 751, this is in June 18th, and I'm sure investors were like, "This is gonna be awesome, And all of a sudden, boom! It goes from 751 down to around $600. That's about 20% or so. So we're always going to see these dips. We're always going to see these things go down, but there may be more factors into play, and that leads me to the next article. So the coronavirus effect. Investors are selling Bitcoin to increase cash positions. This is just one of the things that have been put out there. So when I said this, I'm like, I don't think so. But if we look into it, it does make a lot of sense. So it talks about, hey, Bitcoin's still dropping. Right now, I think we're around $8,600 from 10,000, which is quite a dip. So this has in itself led to a debate over the purpose of Bitcoin as a safe haven. One prominent analyst has pointed out that the sell-off is led by coronavirus fears, is led by a need to increase their cash positions or options. And that makes sense. I mean, if you are in any country that you are quarantined off, right, and you're trying to buy a face mask or essentials, food, emergency supplies, Bitcoin may be a store of value, but when you need to buy those things, you need to buy those like right effing now, because there is no way out. So it makes sense. So if you're cash strapped, then yeah, you need to do that. So Bitcoin, like traditional markets, equities, stocks, and bonds, are on a free fall, and this has been in the news. The S&P 500 is down, the stock market's down, everybody's losing their mind, and it is something to be concerned about. if you have all of your money in stocks or all of your money in cryptocurrency. In this channel, I don't recommend that. There's some channels that talk about how you need to hodl forever and put a ton of your money in. And I just don't believe that is the best investment strategy. So if you're a TA person, there's no way, I don't think there's any way you could have seen this dip. Put in the comments below if you're one of those traders like, yep, saw it all the way, baby. But that would be interesting. So if you have these types of positions and you're not dollar cost averaging in, I think you're making a big mistake. Because if Bitcoin was, if you bought it at 3,000 and then you buy it at 6,000 and then you buy it at 10,000 and then it goes down to 6,000, well, if you dollar cost average in, how can you time the bottom? How can you time the top? You can't. But if you dollar cost average, it's just a safer way to do things. That's how I do it. I don't put a lot in. I put like $25 in a week because I am uber safe as much as I can. So we will see. Moving on. My man Peter Schiff. And you know he's going to love this because he states Bitcoin is neither money nor a currency. It's a digital asset. The question at A. Pompliano, or Pomp, and I are debating is whether it's a safe haven asset that stores value over time or a risk asset with a market price that can rise or fall substantially over time. The answer is obvious, and he's got a point. Right now, the gold market is skyrocketing as everything else is going down, which is what we kind of thought would happen with Bitcoin. When things would go, the market would crash, we assumed that Bitcoin and gold would go up, but right now we've only got gold going up. So real quick, here is gold itself. What's been happening with it? It went from 1475, 1460 back in December, and just pretty much has continued to climb and climb and climb. And where are we? 20th, 21, 22, 24. So, and then 25 down to 1630. So we are seeing a big increase for gold and not as much in Bitcoin. So it's very interesting what's going on here. Moving on, it says currently there is increased fear with the spread of the coronavirus. This has seen most traditional assets drop drastically. World economies are as well at a standstill. Yes, it is. And then Matty Greenspan says something great. Investors need to increase cash position. Unlike its main rival, gold, which is soaring, Bitcoin has lost over 5% this week. And of course, in a day, I think it lost 10%. It went from 10,000 to 86. That's more than 10%. So yeah, it's been quite the dip, quite the drop. The spread of the epidemic means that there could be more cities under quarantine, like we talked about, a need for masks and other resources. Investors are looking to have cash options to ensure if faced with this reality, they are well financed. So here's my final thoughts on this. I believe that if people are into Bitcoin and they are cash strapped and they're in these cities, then yes, obviously they need to take that money out because they need to buy these things, and we don't know what's going to happen. Just right now, the CDC here in America has stated that it's not a question of if the coronavirus will spread in America. It is a question of when it will become a pandemic and find its way here to rapidly spread across America. So we will see exactly what happens. However, I will tell you this. There was a big Ebola virus scare. I think it was in 2008, 9, 10, somewhere around there. I forgot. And everybody's worried about that, and it didn't spread as well. So we will see what happens. Hopefully the world governments can get together and try to coordinate a good effect as far as how to stop this spread, and we don't lose any more lives. Moving on. Last up, MoneyGram Q4 loss narrows. Quick fact. So I'd seen this in another article, how MoneyGram had lost money over Q4, and I was like, what the heck? They teamed up with Ripple to cut costs, and now here they are losing money. What's going on? So Money International Inc. MGI reported that its fourth quarter net loss narrowed to 11.9 million or 16 cents per share from, this is the previous losses, 12.5 million or 19 cents per share last year. Revenue was 323.7 million, a decline of 6% from the fourth quarter of 2018. Revenue excludes 8.9 million of benefit from Ripple, which will be accounted for as a contra expense rather than revenue based on a recent consultation with the SEC. So essentially, Ripple's giving them money. So here's my question. I'm going to bleed this out to everybody, and I'm sure it's going to open up a can of worms, but what do you think about this? Do you think that MoneyGram as they have partnered with Ripple, as they have been the one that uses the most XRP and has the highest utility, and is going from 10% to hopefully 20% as a quarter from U.S. to Mexico as they, have cross-border payments or cross-border remittances. Do you think they should have lost this amount of money, or is this a sign that it's just a growing pain and they're trying to implement new technology and next quarter will be better? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And that's it for today. I know it's short. I am traveling from El Paso to Houston, so I don't have much time. But those are the big stories for today. If you've got a couple minutes, we're going to go over the scam of the day. It doesn't take too long. And if you're new, welcome. First things first, if you're new to this space, what a day to pick. But second of all, watch out for scams. Treat everything as a scam until proven otherwise. When you're ever in doubt, contact the official website. If you think Ripple's giving away free XRP, just send an email to the official website. They're going to tell you no. Binance, Coinbase, OKX, Kraken, whatever, Nano or Ledger, they're going to say the same thing. We're not giving away squat, so don't bother us. No, they're just going to tell you. They're not going to give you anything. So that's the first thing. Second thing, let's try to wipe away these scams because this is going to be a big year, hopefully, for the cryptocurrency digital asset market. Let's get rid of these scams as best as possible. Now, we've already done a pretty good amount here. And to get to this scam of the day sheet, on the description of every one of my videos, there's going to be a title that says Scam of the Day. And next to that's going to be a link. You're just going to click on that. It's going to bring you to this Google spreadsheet. And just pick any of these three. Some have been very stubborn. I don't know why, but we try to do our best, right? We've already wiped a ton of these away. So let's see if we can wipe away these last three, and then we'll move on to the next one. So we'll click on one of these. It'll go to one of these scammy type of videos. How do we know it's a scam? First, let's take a look at the comment section. It's all scams. When mullet, baby, when mullet. So we see a lot of scams going on here. They're talking about a Bitcoin address. And this is where, here's the thing, no one's giving you free money. You're not special. So they say, if you send 0.02 Bitcoin, you'll be airdropped 0.1 Bitcoin. If you give us 0.1 Bitcoin, you'll be dropped a half a Bitcoin. No one's doing that. No one's giving you free money. So let's just wipe this away. So there's two things we got to do. Just click dislike, click on the three dots because the scammers like to hide the report button. Click on that. We're going to say spams or misleading and scams and fraud. We're just going to click next and say this is a scam. And that's it. Just click report and you're done. So if you could help us out, that'd be huge. I'd really appreciate it. That'd be awesome. And that's it for today's video. So if you like that, first of all, thanks for sticking with me to the very end. And second of all, if you like these types of videos, there's going to be two that's going to pop up on your left and right. I don't know which ones they are because YouTube curates them for you. So just pick whichever you want to keep watching. And I will see you on the next one.